Well, while the world's attention is focused on the London Olympics, in many places wars still rage. The Olympic Truce is a tradition stemming from the ancient Greeks, which some campaigners are trying to revive. Christopher, can you briefly explain for those who've never heard of it, what is this Olympic Truce?
Well, if you go back to the origin of the Olympics in the 8th century BC, the idea was that when the Olympics went on, the Games went on, other countries decided that would agree not to fight each other so that their athletes could actually go to the Games and take part safely. And in modern times, this has become part of a UN expression, a UN charter. At these Games, right at the beginning, it was announced, the declaration came, there should be an idea that we could all give up fighting while it's on. You know, just think about it. This is what the Olympics are about, people living in peace rather than more. Doesn't work, but it's a good idea.
Well, earlier I spoke to Dr. Constantinos Filis, Director of International Olympic Truce Committee in Athens, and I asked him how relevant the idea is today of the Olympic Truce.
In my point of view, Olympic Truce is nowadays more relevant than ever before. But before that, and before answering to your question, I would like to make clarification. That is, that Olympic Truce is not an armistice. It is not a pure political process, and there is no guarantee that it will be respected. Let me just remind you that back in October 2012, all 193 member states of the United Nations signed for Olympic Truce. Actually, they adopted a resolution on Olympic Truce and on the need to respect Olympic Truce. But as we see in Syria, but not also in Syria, in other parts in the world, especially in the African continent, Olympic Truce cannot be imposed, and there are no sanctions for offenders. So Olympic Truce is a process that is directly related to sports. It does not necessarily bring peace. It is a step to peace. It is a tool to promote ideals that highlight the importance of peace and consolidate the meanings of peace.
You mentioned Syria. How important is it against the backdrop of what is happening there at the moment that countries like that still send their competitors to the Games?
It is really disappointing to see the situation in Syria escalating in the previous days, especially in the days after the opening ceremony. This, of course, was something that we expected. What we didn't expect was what happened between Georgia and Russia back in 2008 at the very first day of the Beijing Olympic Games. The problem, as I said before, is that we cannot impose Olympic Truce and that there are no sanctions for offenders. And as far as the situation in Syria is concerned, and the athletes, the Syrian athletes, it's really a matter of the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, of which we are part, to decide on whether athletes should be punished or not for what is going on back to their country. In my point of view, the IOC has taken the right decision. The athletes are there. We should let them compete, and it is not up to us to decide whether they should be punished or not.
Indeed. And is it possible for sport to help bring about peace?
Indeed. And within this framework, what we do as Olympic Truce Center is to familiarize, especially post-conflict societies, with the benefits of peaceful coexistence, particularly through joint sport activities. So in a sense, Olympic Truce, although it has not been respected during the Olympic Games, but throughout its very existence, which is from 2000, has been considered and can be considered as a platform for peace. In a way, it is a soft power to achieve socio-political goals through the promotion of sport ideals.
Indeed, and on that note today, Russia's President Vladimir Putin is visiting David Cameron in London. They're going to see the judo together. Do you think they can make any headway with diplomacy?
Well, fingers crossed. I hope that they will be able to find a common denominator between themselves. Of course, Russia, and now I'm speaking as an analyst of international relations, as a professor of international relations, rather than the director of the International Olympic Truce Center, has set many barriers to this procedure. As I said before, let's hope that the Russians will find reasons to step back and to leave, in a way, developments and the course of events to be defined by the people of Syria rather than some elites that, as it seems, are not nowadays relevant to what, and their interests are not at all relevant, and they do not coincide in any way with the interests of the people of Syria.
Dr. Constantinos Filis, Director of the International Olympic Truce Committee, speaking to me from Athens.